Hi, I'm Rene Bharti. I'm the CEO of Jourdan Resources, and with me today is Dr. Andy Rompel, who is the VP of Exploration. Jourdan Resources is a lithium exploration company in Quebec near Val-d'Or, a great mining jurisdiction. We have over 16,000 hectares of land that we are actively exploring. We're right next door to a producing mine starting in April with a company called Sayona, and we're very excited about the future potential.
Rene, Andy, nice to meet you both. Welcome to Crux. Rene, can you just give us a little history to the company, how it started and what your involvement, how you came to get involved with the company?
Sure. Originally, actually, I was a shareholder of the company. I liked where it was based, and they were searching for base metals, things like nickel. And when they started finding some lithium on the property, I got very intrigued. This is about 4 years ago, where lithium was nowhere near it was now. I knew lithium was going to enter a bull market given what happened with electric vehicles. So I got very interested in the company. I started getting a bigger position as a shareholder, eventually joined the board, and then eventually moved to CEO when I thought, you know what, this company has the potential to become a big lithium producer if things go well, just based on some of the things that were happening. Andy joined as our VP of Exploration. We began a very aggressive drill program, got some extremely positive results. And just based on the closeology of where it was to the old existing North American lithium mine, I thought this is a very rare opportunity to get into the lithium space. So we've been at this for 3-4 years as a team, and we're very excited about where it's going.
When did you join as CEO? When did you become CEO?
I became CEO about 3 years ago, and Andy is currently the chairman of the board. So we run kind of hand in hand. We've got a fantastic board. There was a press release that came out to announce Robert Bryce, who lives in Quebec, a very, very experienced gentleman. He lives very close to the site. We have Roger Lemaitre, who is now our VP of mining. And we have some very active people at site. So we have a very aggressive drill program that Andy can fill you on more. But we feel that we have a world-class technical team that is based in Quebec and based in Toronto, where our corporate headquarters are.
Thank you. And Andy, so you joined about 3 years ago. What's your background, please?
My background is I'm a geologist, a structural geologist, and I worked in South Africa for 23 years with Anglo American. Then I moved to Peru, and I worked for a company called Jourdan Mining in high up in the Andes. I was the exploration manager in Mexico. I moved to Vancouver afterwards. I was the CEO of Cobalt Power when cobalt was the hot commodity. Also in the electric vehicle space, you need it for the batteries to keep them nice and cool and charge them quickly.
So that was 2016, 2017, I guess.
That was between 2016 and 17. In 18, I moved over to Toronto and joined Forbes Manhattan. And I think in 19, I joined Jourdan.
Right. And those years that you spent in South Africa with, I've seen it on your CV, maybe you mentioned it, but it was with Anglo American, wasn't it?
It was Anglo American, yes.
And were you a field geologist through that? I know the answer to this because I could see it on your CV that you spent some time in the technical studies group. Can you just elaborate what that means?
What it meant was whenever Anglo did a merger, an acquisition, or a capital expenditure of $100 million or more, a technical team, a multidisciplinary team was sent to site to have a look if it's technically okay. And I represented geology. And with me traveled a mining engineer, a metallurgist, the legal person, the financial guys, OPEX, CAPEX, the environmental guy, the hydrogeologist, everybody who has something to say in mining. And I did that for more than 10 years. And the nice thing is you learn a lot about the other disciplines too. So hence, I know a little bit about the other disciplines and in the mining environment, from opening a mine or finding a mine to closing down a mine.
It's that interdisciplinary approach is so crucial, isn't it? Particularly when you're trying to make a kind of a binary decision whether we buy in or we don't buy in, or to build or not to build.
Yes, absolutely. And I started off on the deep level gold mines in South Africa in the Witwatersrand. And many geologists, they get a kick out of finding some mineralization. But the question is always, can it be a mine? Is it economic? Can we exploit the ore? Is there enough? And you have to do this. This is a financial, the financial side to it. And I had to learn that in South Africa and on this multidisciplinary panel.
Well, the first step is finding the resource. In a sense, you can't go through that. You can't build a mine. You can't have a success without that first step of understanding the geology and defining that resource. So, in a sense, you've got to let the geologists have their day in the sun. You've got to let them make their discovery. Surely,
that is absolutely correct. And leading to Jourdan, we knew we had these pegmatites, but now we had to test them. To make sure that this is economically sound and we can actually get to a resource and then on to a reserve, which you can mine eventually.
And I think Andy made a good point. Sorry to interrupt. I think Andy made a very good point saying everyone's end goal should be, can this be a mine? And certainly with Jourdan, when we got active and Andy and I sort of took over the project, we realized that, can this be a mine? The answer is yes, because it was a mine. There was a mine called the North American Lithium Mine that was owned by a Chinese group that was active. It was Canada's only producing lithium mine. And when we knew that someone was going to come in and buy that mine and turn it back on, and our property surrounds the entire mine. We have over 16,000 hectares that surrounds where the mine is. And anybody can look at a map and see exactly what I'm talking about with closeology. So to Andy's point, can this be a mine? The quick answer is absolutely yes.
And Rene, you've got a colleague in the form of Andy who's got this extraordinary experience on the technical side and the geology. When you look at the junior resources sector and you've got that skill set sitting next to you, what emerges as the strategy for Jourdan? What's your play here? What are you aiming to do? What's the focus?
Well, the focus right now is drilling to prove up a resource and eventually move to a feasibility. The other thing that we knew was important was to get a relationship with whoever buys that mine, because given how close we are and we surround them, we knew that let's try to build a partnership. We've been very fortunate that we have a phenomenal partnership with Sayona Mining, who now owns the mine. The mine is turning on April 4th, and they will be Canada's only lithium producer. And we're very much hoping that through the efforts that we do, we'll be producing with them. We're working actively on a drill program with them. They are truly going to be a partner that I think that we can move from exploration to producer in the not too distant future.
They've got an investment commitment where they can earn 25% in the ground. Is it Vallée? Is it just that one property? They can earn 25% by spending $4 million this year.
Correct.
Is that correct?
And the $4 million has already been transferred into escrow. We're just working on how to spend it and where to spend it. We have a joint committee that's planning that as we speak. We have a very aggressive drill program planned. They have the option to earn another 25% by putting in another $6 million anytime in the next 2 years. And then if it does go to feasibility, they can move over to 51%. But certainly our team, their team are working hand in hand. Andy, Roger, and their team in Quebec. So we are certainly moving very aggressively forward. As I mentioned, the $4 million is already in the account and transferred over.
We're planning something like 24,000 meters of drilling, of infill drilling. We have already extensively drilled our portion of Vallée, which is our flagship project. And we were very, very close to a resource when we joined Sayona, and then it was decided to add more drilling to actually get the category higher from inferred to indicated. So we're aiming for an indicated resource which can be converted to a reserve. The beauty of Val-d'Or is that the drilling is probably the cheapest in all over the world, all over the planet, with about $250 all in. And this is Canadian dollars, not US dollars, which is cheaper than any other price of cloud.
In exploration, what one always does is to define a resource. You define an envelope of mineralization, then you de-risk within that to be able to categorize it as a resource. Have you kind of pushed the limits of that resource on to the easiest extent? I mean, is it open? Is it easy? Or are you kind of pretty much at the limits of your the first pass envelope or the balloon?
No, we're not. We're not, and this is the beauty. There's plenty of open sky potential for drilling more. And what we have done, the old North American lithium mine is sitting to the west of us, and we drilled from our western border to the east, following up on those pegmatites. We also had a bulk sample which we sampled, and we showed results way in the economic level with 1.5% lithium oxide plus, so very economic grade. And then we extended the drilling towards the east, and we haven't finished drilling towards our eastern boundary. We have the permits, and we intend to pursue these pegmatites further to the east. And we probably have the potential for an extra 50%, if not more, and then some, because we also acquired a huge portion of ground just before the end of last year, which is, we call it the Vallée Northeast, and it is a huge portion which we have not explored, which we intend to explore next summer after the snow is gone.
So, just so I understand, from the western border of your ground, the border with the mining site, how much strike length have you got of these pegmatite dikes that is going to be within the first maiden resource?
We have about explored 800 meters, but we're not on our eastern limit yet. We drilled,
and you've got another potential 400 meters.
We drilled lines every 100 meters. And we have arrived at line 8, which is 800 meters, but we've got the permits to drill line 9, 10, and 11, and we're still not done by that.
Okay, so there's always a decision process about when are you going to publish a resource, and you've chosen, for whatever reason, to publish a resource, to aim for a resource now with the infill drilling that you're going to be doing with the money that's available because of the relationship with Sayona. What was perhaps Rene, you're the best person to answer this. What was the philosophy around putting a resource out this year rather than in a year's time?
Well, because we're very fortunate that what we're trying to do is move, as Andy said, a resource into a reserve category, and then we're able to then use that rock to potentially move it into a mine that may or may not be close by. So from a permitting standpoint and the ability to take that rock and actually produce it into something special, I think we have to get a resource established right away. And certainly there are other areas that Andy and the team are working on. We have 3 world-class properties. We're focused now just on Vallée, but this one is close to the mine. We want to get a resource, move into a feasibility study, get that done, and certainly have the potential to use that ore into the Sayona system. Is that fair to say, Andy? Is that a fair way to say it? I just want to double check.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
And of the $4 million, how much is going into the resource definition and this infill program, and how much will be available for the Vallée Northeast kind of exploration in the summer?
I think the $4 million go into the resource definition, and we have to say that Sayona also joined Jourdan as such, not just Vallée, our flagship, but also Jourdan as a company to 9.9%, and we've got some money there, which we will use on our other projects. They're also incredibly intriguing, especially at Baillargé, where we have opened up 3 pegmatites along their strike, and we sampled them, and we got good results back, and we intend to drill them after the snow is gone in our summer campaign.
And you opened that up through identifying them from float or geophysics or mapping, and it was just kind of trenched off the top?
There were some historical outcrops, and they were sampled in the past, and they came back with economic grade, and we decided last summer to actually open these up and sample them along the strike. In other words, instead of a small outcrop of 5 meters, we open them up to 200-300 meters along the strike, so we can sample embedded A on surface, and B, we can drill underneath them and look at their depth extension.
And that's, you get a permit to scrape off the till and just get down to rock.
Exactly that. Then we apply for the drill permits, and we drill these, and we've got the funds to do that. And Baillargé has the potential to be the next Vallée.
Thank you. Rene, what's the cash position in the company?
Currently, we have just over $2 million in cash. Getting money in this lithium market certainly is not hard, but our stock price is still, in my opinion, extremely depressed from where it should be or will be. So we don't need to raise money at this time. And having a partner like Sayona, who is more than happy to keep exploring Vallée and increasing budgets, I don't think we'll have to worry about cash for exploration or drilling or anything like that.
And what do you think of the short-term catalysts for the share price? Is it getting the story out? Is it the start of the mine? Is it drill results? Or all three?
I think all three, but Merlin, certainly talking to companies like Crux are things that we haven't done enough to date. I think what's going to happen in short order is you're going to see a lot of hopefully news flow coming out around things like Mind and Money, the BMO conference, and PDAC, where you'll start to establish, I think we hope that people will start to understand how proper this Sayona-Jourdan relationship is. Brett Lynch, who's their CEO and chairman, is on the Jourdan board. As Andy mentioned, they own 9.9% of Jourdan. And one of the things we're going to try to express to the market is that there's very few companies that are sitting at 7 or 8 cents with a 20 million market cap that are 500 meters from a mine that's going on, which will be Canada's only lithium producing mine, which has the potential to go from exploration to establishing a resource and reserve, as Andy said, into a feasibility, and to take that rock and actually produce spodumene concentrate with it and anything else down the road. So we're in a very, very rare position. I think the biggest thing what I'd like to express is we haven't had the story reach enough ears, and hopefully by doing things like Crux, the audience will catch on to what's going on.
What's the timing of it? I mean, surely Sayona's got years and years of development. It doesn't need the Vallée resource at any point, or just the fact that it's next door.
Andy, I'll let you take that one about why they.
Well, once they start up mining, they will mine towards the east, which is towards us, and it's very difficult for them to go any other route. So the easiest way to start the mining is stripping towards the east, which is towards our ground. And this is where we prepare our ground to be ready for mining. So once they get there, which is in the not too distant future, we're there. We've got by then hopefully the reserve all drilled out, and then they have the mining permit. And what we hear from the lawyers about mining permits, that if you have one and you need an extension, you get it easier than to start from scratch and apply for a mining permit. Totally new.
And certainly, Merlin, their easiest and closest tonnage to get to the mill is certainly working with us on where we are. They have a lot of tons, there's no question about it, but I think a lot of it is also underground. And so I think this is the least path to resistance to get tons through the mill.
So their open pit comes up to your western boundary?
Correct. And
exactly they have got development tons at depth, but those are underground tons. So if they go to expand their open pit, it has to go to the east.
It's the easiest way. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Also, the beauty is that we are exploring exactly the same pegmatite swarm that they have exposed in their open pit. In other words, they know the material they're getting, which is also very important for the metallurgy in the plant. This is the same material that they always mined before. So the knowledge of the ore itself is very important. We have exactly the same pegmatite swarm on our ground than they have in the open pit.
And pegmatite, presumably light-coloured rock. What's the country rock? Is it very visible? Can you selectively mine this in an open pit?
Yes, you can, and very simple. The pegmatite is white. The spodumene mineral can be very light green, and the country rock, which is basaltic, gabbroic which is very dark, a dark gray. In other words, they're ore sorters which you can make use of, and we looked at it, and Sayona has looked at it too. They want to install the first thing is an optical sorter, which is the easiest, where you chuck out the dark material and you let the light material run along the conveyor belt into the plant. And they have some other ideas. They did the studies. So yes, absolutely, you can do ore sorting, chuck out the dark material, and upgrade your head grade that goes into the plant.
So, Rene, you've got. I can see why you've gone up to line 8 and why you may be able to push out further lines to the east, but I can understand why you've got this focus on the first 800 meters to get that up the de-risking curve and the valuation curve to something that can be mined. You talked about 51% being available to Sayona if they take it to feasibility level. What happens after that? What are the arrangements? What are the commercial arrangements around any tonnage that is defined on the Vallée property?
Well, I think it'll be traditional toll milling, and I think we have to see what happens after they move to the 51%. We're still going to figure out what's going to happen with that 49, whether they have discussions with us to buy out all of Vallée, or whether we keep our 49% and we go through the mine with them, hopefully, and then we see what the revenue shares would look like on the other side. Because, lithium hydroxide at the end product is selling for $70,000 a ton. It's the profit margins are insane. So we don't see it slowing down anytime soon. Sayona has done a phenomenal job with their market cap going from 20 million to 2 billion in just under 2 years. And like I said, we'll be hopefully part of a system that is Canada's only lithium producing mine this year. They go online in early April. So with getting back to the question, the last 49%, we haven't worked out those dynamics yet. What we're really excited about is what happens with the first 51 in terms of us actually having revenues come in if we do decide and they allow us to go through their mine.
One of the advantages of having strong paper for Sayona, is that you can raise capital in a non-dilutive manner. And I guess that's the arbitrage, isn't it? The small value of Jourdan relative to the fuller valuation of Sayona.
Yes, and one of the things that I think that we would like to impress upon investors is that, buying a big company that is very safe, if you want the lift, I just don't see too many companies out there right now that have Jourdan's potential to go from a 20 million market cap Canadian to near term, once we have a resource, a reserve, a feasibility, and potentially putting our ore through an existing and running mine. I just don't see too many companies out there that have such upside potentially for investors.
And you mentioned that you're going to try and increase the amount of marketing that you do to try and grow the reach of the company. Forbes Manhattan has got that ability, hasn't it? It's got a track record of promotion within the resources sector, not always without controversy, should we say? But how much are you going to lean on that relationship, and is that going to work in your favor, do you think?
Well, Jourdan's a standalone company. We don't rely on other companies for our marketing materials or promotion. We do everything in-house ourselves. We have our own very separate board. So this will go through, including Brett from Sayona. So the marketing is very in-house. So we have our own decisions as a company with Jourdan. And certainly with Sayona being now our partner, we have to bounce everything off them, what we want to do in terms of promotion, in terms of press releases. They look at everything we're doing. Certainly the activities, once we have more substantive press releases, which we hope will be coming in the near term, they'll be piggybacking off us and sharing them with their Australian counterparts and on their side as well. And they have over 45,000 retail shareholders. So if we can start tapping into that database as, say, Sayona 2 or mini Sayona with the same upside potential, then I think you'll see some real action in the stock.
Great. So in terms of the catalyst this year, or rather as a understanding the company, I hear that you've got other areas of interest, other exploration properties, but really the main story is going to be at Vallée, isn't it, for the bulk of this year?
We'd be crazy not to make this our focus, because this is something that could actually take the company into production, which is unheard of in such a short period of time within one fiscal year.
Remind me then of how you see the news flow developing over the next 10 months.
So we see the following. We'll announce the drill program. I think you'll see the drill program getting more and more robust. We'll announce the plans with where we're going to drill. We are working on finalizing that right now as a team, and we're working in concert with Sayona, along with Roger Lemaitre, who's our VP of mining. I think you'll see in the not too distant future a resource start to pull up. I think, as Andy said, there'll be some infill drilling and other things to get that into a reserve category. And I think we see a feasibility. And then I think that we will be able, knock on wood, this is all best case scenario, that we will be able to use the Sayona mining permit to bring our ore through their system.
Just to come to the resource, do you expect perhaps this is a question for Andy, what's the timing, do you think, on that? Do you think that's something achievable by mid-year, or is it definitely in the second half of this year?
I would say the second half of this year, because we have to get all the drilling done, which is, as I mentioned, between 20 and 25,000 meters. This is not just a single rig. This is 2 rigs, 3 rigs. And we got to do a lot of drilling. Once the core is drilled, you got to log it, and you got to sample it. You send it off to the assay labs. Assay labs have been a problem in the past years, especially during COVID. Their return time was a lot longer than anticipated and a lot longer than promised. We will actually join Sayona and the labs that they're using, because they get special treatment, obviously, being a big mine and lots of samples that they send. So we piggyback on to Sayona with that and hope to get the samples returned with the results much quicker than in the last 3 years. But still, all of this takes a bit of time. And I would say in the fall, this is when we have to anticipate our resource.
So safe to say Q4 rather than Q3?
Yeah, to be safe, yes.
Andy, how are you handling the resource modelling on this? Who's going to be doing the resource estimation? Have you got an in-house expertise, or are you working with consultants?
We do not have in-house expertise, and we made use of an external consultant until now. The moment we joined the forces with Sayona, we signed a partnership. They made it very clear that they have experts that have done the estimate on the mine, and they would like to take over this part of the resource estimation.
I know that so much of modern working conditions can be, modern working life can be achieved remotely and online. I mean, look at us here. But there is also a benefit in having some face time. Where are the Sayona headquarters, and where is the resource modelling done for that company?
Very, very simple. Whoever does the resource estimate has to set foot on the ground and has to take some samples, him or herself, and send them off to make sure that the ballpark of the assay results is correct. In other words, whoever does the resource has to set foot on the ground. So it can't be too remote, can't be overseas, should be somewhere close. Sayona, there's a geologist or chief geologist sitting on the mine, and they have their VP exploration, who is not far away, living somewhere close to Rouyn-Noranda, and we actually regularly meet him on site. We have been out on several occasions, many occasions. I actually intend to fly out the moment the snow disappears, and with our project geologists, we're going to plan all the exploration on the other projects that are also important, and they also have funding, as I mentioned before. And this is done on site. In other words, we are always on the ground. We are not just working remotely. Even during COVID, Rene and I have been out. There was a press release with a photograph taken of us in front of a drill rig.
Yeah, good. It's interesting, talking about the timelines of what your kind of the value growth aim or the strategy is for this year. It comes back to Sayona too. You know, Vallée being the future tonnage for the Sayona mill, the kind of the reinvigorated North American Lithium mine. Good. Well, I very much look forward to hearing the news, watching your progress as you come along, and I look forward to seeing you at PDAC and other conferences along the road.
Yeah, thank you, Berlin. And we should also note that we'll be at PDAC, obviously, as well as you, but we will be very close and sort of sitting with the Sayona booth, sort of showing and strengthening the partnership, so letting people see that we really are a one team.
Great. Good luck. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well,